What was the pro day like? What were your impressions?
It was real interesting, Rich, and I'll kind of put it to you this way. First off, all 31 teams were there. The Bears were deep. They had probably 7 or 8 people from their coaching staffs and personnel staffs were there. But, Rich, most pro days, when you have a quarterback, they're trying to dazzle, right? They're trying to show you that they can rip it outside the numbers to the opposite hash, that they can throw it deep, that they can roll out, that they can play under center. Caleb's pro day was more of a showcase of this is what I can do when everything's working fine around me. I'm going to keep it in the pocket. He did 50 throws almost exclusively from the pocket, about 60% from shotgun, about 40 from simulated under center. And he wasn't trying to make the big throws. Yeah, there were some deep throws. There were some really just beautiful rocket balls outside of the numbers. But again, it seemed like he wanted to show these teams what he could do when things were calm. Because, on film at USC, especially last season, rarely were the seas settled when he dropped back to pass. So it was really kind of as our Daniel Jeremiah said, a salad type of pro day in terms of like the full entree with dessert.
Okay. So for those who don't eat greens, what does that mean, Steve?
So I think that means like, hey, look, nothing fancy here. Let's just go out again. Let me show you that I've got the big arm. You can see me move. You didn't see me do this at the combine, but again, there's plenty of tape. You saw what I had to do at USC, where I had to evade the pocket and 2 tacklers while making all of these spectacular off-platform and off-schedule plays. Let me again show you that I can rip the Texas route, to the running back. I can stick it to the slot receiver on a 15-yard dig. I can hit somebody on a 17-yard out, but I can also throw, as our old friend Mike Mayock likes to say, the bang 8, the deep route that goes, straight down the field. And again, part of the other thing was how engaging he was, not with just his teammates, but the staff personnel. And Rich, that is a huge thing for someone who to bring a 22-year-old into their building, pay them tens of millions of dollars, and they want them to be able to walk in and speak to the people in the cafeteria and speak to the people who are cleaning up their equipment and also get along with teammates who a lot of them could be 10 years older than him.
Yeah, and he did that at the combine too. He thanked everybody who ran drills. He turned the lights out on that Saturday night. And the photograph we have up on the screen, it's still up there for a reason, because he's gripping the football with his left hand with a smile on his face. He was warming up, throwing spirals left-handed, Steve. What was up with that?
He's just that, he's just that talented. And Rich, we've seen him, even when he was back at Oklahoma playing for Lincoln Riley, and things were much more on schedule than how they had to be last season at USC.
Right. Yeah.
So I think he was just like, hey, I've got it. I can do the Mahomes stuff. Again, that's the comp. When you see a lot of the baseball type of throws and things that he can do in the big arm and just a spectacular ability that he has. So we saw him punt the ball to kind of button up his pro day. So he was just doing a lot of things, but I think at the same time, he was trying to keep it light for his handful of teammates who were also trying to impress these scouts and trying to make them not feel that they were under any pressure, because he knows he's going to be the first pick. But he also wanted to make sure that they look good so they can get a shot in the NFL as well.
Steve Wyche here, fresh off of the USC Pro Day coverage on NFL Plus right here on the Rich Eisen Show. You just said it. He knows he's going to be the first pick. He does, right? You think it's been communicated legitimately already?
It was, well, I got to tell you, it was hard not to think that just watching the interaction of what happened there. Like, who did he go see right after he finished throwing, after he hugged up his teammates? Matt Eberflus, Ryan Poles, the head coach and general manager of the Bears, his head coach at USC, Lincoln Riley, who was standing with Poles and Eberflus while most of this workout was going on. That he went and shook hands with other people on the staff. Yes, he did shake hands with Adam Peters and Dan Quinn of the Washington Commanders, who have the second overall pick. But, you saw him, Keenan Allen showed up, right? Rich, this is the first time I've ever seen anything like this. A veteran player gets traded, right, to the Bears, a wide receiver. He shows up at his pro day, right? So Caleb said that they had a relationship because Keenan Allen, of course, played for the Chargers here in L.A., and so they had a prior relationship. But Keenan could have been doing 4 million other things. And he came to see what likely will be his next quarterback, go through this process. So, again, the Bears, I spoke to somebody with them. They arrived in town Monday. They met with Caleb. They went to dinner. They were the only team to do so, as Caleb put off scheduling any other meetings until after the pro day. So, again, if I'm connecting the dots and reading the tea leaves and everything else, this seems like the draft starts at 2 with Washington because number 1 is pretty buttoned up.
No doubt, man. I got that sense, too, just at the Combine even. And I imagine that's the only way a Cal Bear is going to show up at USC's pro day, right?
Right, exactly. Well said.
otherwise, there would be a very warm place that have to freeze over for that to happen. And that's the sense, too, is what a setup for Caleb with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen and Cole Kmet and DeAndre Swift in the running back room, and $60 million in cap space to potentially maybe sign somebody here, there, get a nice mid-season acquisition. Even they went ahead and got Montez Sweat last year, and that's the other point too, is how supremely talented they are on that side of the football. This is a great setup for Caleb. So I don't understand the conversation about pulling an Eli or Willie pulling Eli. Like he does, right? You already made the face. I mean, he's kind of all in here, don't you think, with the Bears as well?
It really seems so. And Rich, don't forget the Bears have the 9th overall pick as well. So they've got some ability to trade back and get pieces and use that to get, maybe one of the best pass rushers to go with Sweat on a rookie contract. I actually asked Caleb, I was like, look, do you fully expect to go to Chicago? And he was like, good question. Like, how am I going to answer this without saying yes? And he was like, well, I'll put it to you this way. Things can happen. They could still trade the pick, things like that, like he's giving every scenario. So he didn't come off as saying that, I fully expect to go to Chicago. But like you said, it seems like he's all in. All this conversation of, he should pull an Eli. Like, why? They set their team up to some degree better than C.J. Stroud had it set up, in Houston. People forget that Stroud went to a team that had a pretty strong, offensive line with Laramie Tunsil and Titus Howard and players like that. Now, no one knew his receivers were going to show up the way they did. Well, we know the Bears receivers have got a history of being pretty good. And like you said, the back half of last season, Matt Eberflus got that defense playing very well once they acquired Montez Sweat. So he is not walking into a situation like, that we saw, Bryce Young walk into in Carolina last year. So, I mean, I think they should, the Bears should feel pretty good about bringing in a super talented player like this at a position that they have not been able to settle for decades.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.